everything here that I need, and I'm going to give this all to you on a paper plate. So whenever you get your paper plate, I need you to please write your name wherever, probably off to the side is fine, and bonus points if you put your class code as well, because this is going to be your plate for the rest of this project. Your final cupcake is going to dry on this plate, so we need to make sure that we have our name on it so that our cupcake does not get confused with anyone else's. And you're going to get a pack of Model Magic. So whenever you get this, we are just going to open it up. And this can be a little bit tricky to actually open, so we can just take some scissors, cut it open like that, and get our Model Magic out of there. So now I just have my Model Magic, and I'm just going to start squishing it in my hands because I just want to warm it up a little bit. Model Magic is very different than the clay that you might be used to. Model Magic is a lot less messy. It is a bit squishier, and it doesn't dry out as fast as normal clay does. Normal clay is also made out of dirt and mud and water, so it can be very dusty, and this is not dusty at all. Okay, so I have a big section, a medium section, and a smaller section here. So that's what you'll need because our cupcake is going to be in 3 different parts. The big section is going to be the bottom of our cupcake, or like the cupcake liner. The medium section is going to be the icing for our cupcake. And then the tiny section is going to be for whatever decorations you want to put on your cupcake, like a cherry. Maybe you want to make some sprinkles and put it on there, whatever you want. Okay, but we are going to start with the bigger section. And like I said, that's going to be the bottom part of your cupcake. What's cool about Model Magic is that you can actually dye it whatever color you want to. You can dye it with food coloring, you could put paint in there, or what we're going to do is we're going to use markers to color our white Model Magic. So you can do whatever colors you want to. I think I want the bottom of my cupcake to be, let's do blue. And this is going to feel really weird at first, but we're just going to take our blue and start coloring it right on top of our Model Magic, just like this. Okay, and then we're going to fold it and start smushing it together. This is called kneading whenever you are trying to mix in a color with clay. You are just going to start pressing it down, squishing it together, and that is going to blend your blue in. And actually, if you want to leave it like this kind of gives it like a marbled effect, a really cool texture, so you can do that too. Or you can keep kneading it in between your fingers, just squishing it together to get that color to mix a little bit better. And I want mine to be like a pale blue or a light blue. I want mine to be a tint of blue, not super dark. But if you want yours to be darker, then after you mix your first round of color, you can actually just go back in and add some more color to darken it up a little bit. Okay, so I just put some more in, and I'm just gonna knead that together. And you're just gonna keep kneading until you're happy with that color. I'm pretty happy with that color of blue. Like I said, if you want it to be darker, then you can just add more marker and keep kneading it in. And for my icing, I think I want to do pink. So I don't have a pink marker, but you can just use red and do a tint. So I just won't put a lot of red in there. I'll just put a little bit at a time. And the less color that you add, the lighter your color will be. Okay, so now I'm just going to knead that red in, just squish it in between my fingers to mix that color in. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that pink. It's a very light pink, but I think that's really pretty, so I'm going to stick with that. And I'm not going to dye my small one yet because I'm not exactly sure what I want to do for my decorations. So I'm just going to leave this off to the side for now. And since I've already dyed my colors, now I'm ready to start actually creating the cupcake part. So first, let's start with the sphere with our bottom section, our biggest ball of Model Magic here. And to make a sphere, we're just going to roll it in between our hands like this, okay? Or you could do it on your plate here. However, whichever way works best for you. And when you have a sphere, that's a three-dimensional circle, we are going to turn this into a pinch pot because I want this cupcake to be functional. I want to be able to use it. And to do that, I'm going to make this kind of like a bowl, and I want my icing and my toppings to be like the lid of my bowl that goes on top. So to make the bottom section, the cupcake liner, we are going to first make a sphere, which we've done, and then we are just going to use our finger and poke a hole in it like that. Once you've done this step, now we can take our two fingers, this finger and our thumb, and we can start pinching the sides as we rotate that sphere around, okay? So I'm holding it and rotating it with my left hand as I am pinching with my thumb and my finger on my right hand, okay? If you're left-handed, you're probably going to do it the opposite way, but I'm right-handed, so I'm going to pinch with my right hand and rotate with my left hand, okay? So now we have a little pot. And this is a miniature cupcake, so we don't really want to make it too wide. We don't want to make the walls of our pot here too skinny either, because if they're too skinny, then once it dries, it'll be very fragile and it might crack on us, and that's not what we want, okay? Also, right now, the bottom of my pot is very rounded, so it's not sitting flat. What I want to do is I'm just going to take it on my plate and just tap it a few times, and that is going to flatten out the bottom. So then when I place it on my desk or put it on a shelf at my house or something, it is not going to fall over. Okay, so make sure yours has a flat bottom as well. And I'm pretty happy with that shape that I have. Okay, so once you're happy with the size of your pinch pot and you've made it nice and flat on the bottom by just tapping it a couple times. Now this is very, very soft, okay? So you need to be really careful with it whenever you're tapping it, because we don't want to like squish it down or anything. We need to be really gentle with it, especially when you're happy with the shape. We don't really want to touch it anymore. The width of my bowl of this wall here is almost the same all the way around. Try to get the width of your walls as even as possible without making them too skinny and without making them too fat. This is a good thickness right here. So I'm happy with the bottom of my cupcake, and if you want, maybe you want to pinch the outside edge of yours to make it more like a cupcake liner or something, you can do that, but I think I just want mine to stay as a normal pinch pot like this. Alright, so that's one part of our cupcake done, the bottom part. Now we are going to work on the icing. So what I want to do is I'm going to make a coil out of this. Let me just move these two things off to the side so that you'll be able to see it really well. And to start a coil, all I'm going to do is make a rough sphere. It doesn't have to be perfect or anything. Just make it into a ball. And then on my plate, I am going to start rolling it and pressing down a little bit so that it starts turning into kind of like a snake or a worm. And I like to use both hands while I do this too. And I start in the center, and as I'm rolling, my hands go outwards. So it's kind of pulling that Model Magic out towards the edges of my plate. Okay, and you might need to make yours longer, so you can actually probably do this on your desk or something. It's not going to make your desk messy or anything. And as you can see, I always start in the center, and then my hands go out towards the edges. And we need this coil to be kind of long. You might have to make a couple of coils before you're happy with the length of it, because what we're going to do is, once you think it's long enough, we are going to try to swirl it around, imagining that it was the top of a cupcake with icing. So I just swirled it around. Now when I come around a second time, I'm going to put it on top of that bottom one I just did. Swirl it around again, and every time I'm going in a little bit, and as you can see, I ran out of coil and there's a big hole in my icing, so I'm gonna have to try again because I want to be able to close that off like a real cupcake with the icing on it. So I'm gonna start again, and to start again, we're just going to make it into a rough sphere shape, start rolling it out, pressing down a little bit, and then with both hands, start in the center and roll it out. All right, this one's a little bit longer. So now that it's longer, and I realized last time I made my icing too big, so I'm gonna try to make it a little bit smaller this time, and I'm just wrapping it around. We're basically making a spiral with our coil here. So I'm just wrapping it around, and I'm moving it in just a little bit as I get towards the top. Keep rotating it, swirling it around like real cupcake icing. And there you go. There is mine, and it's wanting to cave in a little bit, so I'm just going to take my thumb and press it out so it doesn't do that. And there is the top of my cupcake. And we don't want to put these on top of one another right now because Model Magic is very sticky. And as I told you before, I want this to be a functional piece of artwork. I want to be able to use this and maybe put earrings in it or something. I don't know, you can put whatever you want in it. So I want to be able to take this lid off so that I can use it. So we don't want to put it on right now because then it's going to stick together. We're going to keep them as two separate pieces. And now I can start making my decorations. And you can do really whatever decorations you want to, whatever you can imagine in your head. Be as creative as you want to be. So I think for my toppings, I want to do sprinkles and a cherry on top. So I'm going to take my smaller portion here. I'm going to break it in half because one half is going to be the cherry and the other half I'll make into sprinkles. Okay, so for the sprinkles, I want two different colored sprinkles. So I am going to rip those in half and I'm going to color them two different colors. I want some purple sprinkles and I want some yellow sprinkles. So I'm just coloring my marker right on top of there, and I'm going to knead those colors in. Alright, so there are my two colors, a very pale yellow and a, oh, I accidentally stick them together. See, they're very sticky, so if you don't want to attach them, then don't accidentally stick them together because then you'll mix your colors, okay? So I have purple and yellow, and to make my sprinkles, I'm just going to take a little bit each. And I'll start with a purple sprinkle first, and you see how tiny it is because this is a very teeny tiny cupcake, alright? It's not much bigger than my palm here. So I am going to make really tiny sprinkles. So I'm only going to need a little bit at a time. And to make my sprinkles, I am just going to roll it in between my fingers like this, back and forth. And then you have a sprinkle. Okay? And it's going to go on top of your icing. So I'm just going to stick it right on there. And it sticks really nicely, okay? So let's do a yellow sprinkle next. For sprinkles, I am just rolling it a little teeny tiny bit in between my fingers and then placing it kind of randomly on my icing. Because if you look at sprinkles on a real cupcake, they're kind of random and they really are just placed all over the icing. So I'm just going to place mine randomly, and then I will be right back to show you the cherry. Alright, so I just finished with my sprinkles and it's looking really cute. So now all I need to do is my cherry. And you'll probably have some extra Model Magic left over, and that's perfectly fine. We'll just set it off to the side. And I want my cherry to be a bright red color. So I am just going to squish it down and color some red on there. I might have to do this a couple of times to make it as dark as I want it to be. Color it a little bit and then knead it through, and I'm going to do that a few times until I'm happy with the color. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with that, and I don't think I want my cherry to be this big, to be honest with you, so I'm just going to tear off a section of my Model Magic, And you guessed it, to make a cherry, we just need to do a sphere, just like this. And we can put it right on top. And to make it look more like a cherry, I just stuck it right on top of my icing here. I actually have toothpicks as well. If you want to add any certain details, I will let you, of course, do that. But I just made a hole in my cherry because if you think of a real cherry, it's got a stem on the top. So I'm actually going to take some of my extra yellow here, and I want to add some green to it so then I can make the leaf and the stem of my cherry. I'm going to try to make a stem. I don't know how well it's going to work, but I'll at least put a leaf on there so everybody who's looking at my cupcake here will know that is a cherry and not just like a gumball on top or something. I want everyone to know this is a cherry. So to make sure that I am clear in what I'm trying to make, I want to put as many details as I can. And to make a stem, I'm going to try to make a stem. I'm just going to take a little bit of my green. I'm going to roll a coil out and stick it to the inside of my cherry, like that. And when it dries, it'll all stick together and it'll dry together. So really, whenever you're working with clay, your hands are really your best tools. They are the best tools to make anything, to sculpt anything, to mold whatever you can imagine. So to make a leaf shape, I just pressed it down and I pinched each side to make the corners a lot more pointy like an actual leaf. And now I'm going to put it on the end of my cherry very carefully. Just squish them together just a little bit. And there you go. My cherry is complete. I didn't know if a stem was going to work, but it actually did, and I'm very happy with it. So now we are just going to keep these on our plate, and they need to dry 100%. Might take a week or two for them to dry completely, but then we can use them on our desk, at a table, put them on a shelf at home, and they're going to be functional because it's a lid and it's a bowl, so we can actually put things in there and use it. I hope you guys have a lot of fun getting creative with these super cute cupcakes. We learned how to do a pinch pot, how to make a coil, a sphere, add little details. We even learned how to color Model Magic, which is pretty cool. I cannot wait to see how your mini cupcakes come out. I know they're going to be amazing because you guys are amazing. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.